northeast Scotland. It won't be as windy here as well. There won't be as much of that low cloud lapping onto the coast. Still pretty cloudy in Northern Ireland. Maybe not as persistent, the rain, as today, but some heavy downpours likely here, especially around the middle part of the day. We start largely dry across England and Wales, maybe 1 or 2 showers in West Wales, but they shouldn't be as intense, again, as the downpours have been today, at least at this stage. Most of us will have a fine, bright day tomorrow. Plenty of very warm, if not hot sunshine, especially in the east, but further south, the storms are gathering once more. We'll see some hefty downpours returning to parts of the south coast by the end of the afternoon. Warm and humid for most places, and look at these numbers across eastern England with some sunshine getting up into the high 20s. The thundery showers then march northwards during Friday evening. The potential for some disruption as they affect parts of southern England, spread into Wales, and then drift northwards through the night into the Midlands and eventually into northern England. Still some of those heavy downpours around on Saturday. Met Office warnings are in place, so check those the Met Office website for full details.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good evening, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. Motorists should be cautious on the A9 Dornoch Bridge due to high winds. Road closures on the A483 from Lenano to Lanbister cause diversions. The A19 northbound between A194 and A185 junction has 10-minute delays. In Manchester, the M60 anti-clockwise at junction 5 has a 10-minute delay. Delays on the M25 clockwise in Surrey between junction 13 and 14 will clear by 7:15. Congestion on the A50 eastbound in Staffordshire will ease late this evening. And on the trains, disruptions between Stoke-on-Trent and Stockport affect Avanti West Coast and cross-country services. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
£54,321 in totally tax-free cash could make your year the best yet. How would you react if you got that winning call?
Oh my God, I'm going to cry. Oh my God. Thank you.
You weren't expecting to get that call today, were you?
No, I wasn't.
For a chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Blinds close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news,
please bring us up to date.
Or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello there, it's 6 o'clock. I'm Michelle Dewberry, and this is Jubes and Co. Coming up today. It's not every day that we witness a miracle, but today we apparently did. A man has literally walked away from a horrendous plane crash which killed hundreds of people. We'll have more on that, including the Prime Minister's reaction. Also, post-spending review council tax bills are poised to rise at the fastest rate in a generation. But hold on a second, because I thought the Labour Party said that council tax wouldn't raise by a penny more. And get this, the Tories have complained to the ICO about Reform UK's dirge their efforts to try and access data to try and save us all some money. What do you think to that? And of course, disorder has been breaking out on the streets of Northern Ireland. The riots have widely been described as racist. But is it really that simple? I say not. We've got all of that and more. My panel tonight, I've got the Conservative Life Peer, Lord Moylan, and the founder of Novara Media, Aaron Bastani. But before we get stuck in, breaking news. We've got an update from the Prime Minister in response to that horrific plane crash in India.
The images and news from India is absolutely devastating, and I speak for the entire country in saying our thoughts are with each and every one of those involved. There will be British and Indian families across the land who are absolutely impacted by this, and our thoughts, first and foremost, are with them. Obviously, the investigation is going on. We've dispatched an investigation team that's been deployed. The Foreign Secretary is leading on this, and we'll obviously update as soon as we can. But we're working with the Indian authorities on this to establish the facts. I would say to all families, friends of anybody affected to please contact the Foreign Office for further information.
Are you in contact at all with any affected families, and do you know anything more about this possible British survivor? And if I may, is there going to any plans for a Cobra?
Well, in relation to the question of a survivor, obviously we're establishing the facts and the investigation is ongoing. We're in constant contact with the Indian authorities. We've dispatched our own team that's been acknowledged to work with them. I think it is important for all friends and family to contact the Foreign Office so we can roll out this as quickly as possible. But it is an ongoing investigation. It'll take some time. But, you know, our hearts and our thoughts are absolutely with the friends and families of all those affected who are going to be absolutely devastated by this awful news.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening. The top stories from the GB newsroom report say a British passenger has survived a crash involving a Gatwick airport-bound plane which went down in a fireball shortly after takeoff in India. The survivor says he has no idea how he escaped the aircraft, his relatives have said. A warning some viewers may find the following footage distressing. The Air India flight, which was carrying more than 240 people from the city of Ahmedabad, including 53 British nationals, collided with a medical college today. The Hindustan Times said 40-year-old British man Vishwas Kumar Ramesh survived the crash, telling the newspaper 30 seconds after takeoff there was a loud noise and then the plane crashed. It all happened so quickly. Video circulating on social media shows massive plumes of smoke rising into the sky near the airport in Ahmedabad, the largest in the state of Gujarat. Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer in the last few minutes has responded to the crash, saying the crash was absolutely devastating and that the investigation will take some time. The King says he and Queen Camilla expressed their deepest possible sympathy to those who await the news of loved ones. In a statement posted on Facebook in the last few moments, Gloucester Muslim community said Akhil Nanabawa, his wife Hannah and their 4-year-old daughter Sarah had died in the crash. Tata Sons, which owns Air India, will offer around £86,000 to the families of each person who died in the crash, the company said. This is the first fatal crash involving a Boeing 787 Dreamliner, models of which have flown more than 5 million journeys across 14 years. In other news, Northern Ireland's police chief has warned the bigots and racists that have been behind 3 nights of disorder in the region that his officers will be coming after them. 3 teenagers have been charged with riot offences following a 3rd night of disorder. That disorder largely took place in Ballymena, but violence has spread to other towns, including Larne, where a leisure centre providing emergency shelter for relocated families was attacked and set on fire. Authorities have described it as racist thuggery targeted at ethnic minorities and police officers. One man is clearly seen throwing a machete towards security services. 32 officers were injured and 6 people arrested on the first 2 nights of violence. Deputy First Minister Emma Little-Pengelly says the government is working to reassure the local community.
No woman or girl walking about should feel fearful. We've got our Ending Violence Against Women and Girls strategy, and of course we've got a number of schemes running. We're working with the PSNI, we're working with local councils to tackle the scourge of that misogyny, of that violence against women and girls. So we want to reassure everyone that we are working hard to try to ensure that everybody remains safe. But we are listening to those concerns. We must listen to those concerns, and we need to stamp out that violence against women and girls.
Chair of the Northern Ireland Policing Board, Mukesh Sharma, says it is absolutely race-based.
This violence is racism, pure and simple racism, with the police left to deal with the outworkings of societal unrest. It is truly a sad reflection of our society that people are putting identifiers on their front doors in the hope of escaping attack. The Chief Constable has assured us that the police will stand to protect and will bring those responsible to justice and will attempt to prevent where they can. But the real prevention work lies in the hands of others.
The Chancellor says she is disappointed after new figures show the UK economy shrank by 0.3% in April. The sharper than expected decline comes a day after Rachel Reeves promised to boost growth in her spending review. Her plans included an extra £29 billion a year for the NHS in England and boosts for defence, education and housing, although some departments will see their budgets squeezed. Economists say tax rises will almost be inevitable in the autumn, but Rachel Reeves, though, has defended her announcement.
Have to get the balance right between tax, spending and borrowing. And if you said yes to every request for more money, you'd end up in the same position that Liz Truss ended up in, which is crashing the economy, sending mortgage rates spiralling and causing the cost of living crisis that's done so much damage.
Shadow Chancellor Mel Stride has accused Ms Reeves of economic vandalism, saying taxpayers will foot the bill.
The answer is it's coming by way of far higher taxes, particularly on businesses, and that is destroying growth. It has also come by way of huge levels of additional borrowing, which has been inflationary, which has been interest rates have been higher for longer, our national debt growing, and the servicing costs of that debt, because of the higher interest rates, now running at £100 billion per year. That's twice what we spend on defence, and that's leaving us overall in a very fragile position with a lot of challenges ahead, and a lot of people worried now that we're going to be looking at potentially very significant further tax rises in the autumn.
And those are the latest GB News headlines from me for now. It is back to Michelle.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Thank you very much for that, Tatiana. I'm Michelle Dewberry. This is Jubes and Co, keeping you company until 7 o'clock tonight. Alongside me, I've not seen him for ages. I've missed him, the Conservative life payer, Lord Moylan, and alongside him, founder of Novara Media, Aaron Bastani. Welcome back to both of you, especially you. It feels like it's been such a long time.
Well, it has been a long. I've been doing some Fridays when you haven't been here, Michelle, but I mean, I haven't seen you for a very long time, and it's a great pleasure to do so.
Oh, well, he might not think that by the end of the programme. We'll check back in and see, shall we? But look, you're all welcome at home as well. What's on your mind tonight, ladies and gents? Join the conversation in all the usual ways. You can email me, gbviews@gbnews.com. You can go to the website, gbnews.com/yoursay. Or, of course, you can tweet or you can X me. But, of course, we've just heard there from the Prime Minister. Absolutely devastating, he says. Of course, refer to that horrendous, shocking plane crash. Let me cross live to our home and security editor, Mark White. Mark, good evening to you. I mean, unbelievable scenes that we saw today, and the fact that a survivor has apparently emerged from this as well. Bring us up to speed.
Yeah, the most unlikely tale of survival, it has to be said, given the absolute devastation and destruction when flight Air India 171 crashed just seconds after taking off on that long-haul flight to Gatwick Airport. Now, this man has been named as Vishwash Kumar Ramesh from London. He's lived here for 20 years with his wife and 2 young children, clearly delighted to get the news that he's there. I mean, this is him in hospital bed. Of course, he's a bit bruised and battered around the face, but really incredible that apart from some chest impacts, some damaged leg injuries, you can see this as image as well of him actually walking away from the wreckage, being guided toward an ambulance there, limping a bit, but otherwise remarkably unscathed given the ferocity of this crash and the fireball that erupted. He was sitting in seat 11A, which was just behind a row of seats towards the front escape area there. You can see it circled for you, the red seat 11A. In front of that, the sort of darker grey, are those seats you normally pay a little bit more for with an airline that puts you right by the emergency exit. But somehow the impact of the crash, the disintegration of the aircraft, whatever it was, that fateful disintegration in a way that pushed him clear of the ensuing fireball is just incredible. The tail of the aircraft was embedded in a block, an accommodation block for medical staff, and as well as the 242 people who were on the aircraft. We assume that most, if not all, apart from this 40-year-old British national, are dead. We're told up to 60 on the ground have died as well, including many junior doctors, medical staff at this accommodation facility on the outskirts of the main airport in Ahmedabad. We can also give you another line of breaking news, which is 3 Britons who were on board the airliner and who died have been named by their local mosque in Gloucester. In a statement on Facebook, Gloucester Muslim community said Akil Nanabawa, his wife Hannah, and their 4-year-old daughter Sarah had died in the crash. The statement goes on to say, during this moment of overwhelming sorrow, our hearts go out to all those left behind. No words, they say, can truly ease the pain of such a profound loss. And that sentiment and that profound loss is being felt by so many families here in the UK, of course in India, also in Portugal and Canada. An absolutely horrific event that we still at this stage have no indication what went wrong in the moments after this Dreamliner 787-800 aircraft took off from that airport heading towards Gatwick.
Mark, what do we know about this compensation? We've just been hearing about that in the bulletins as well. Is this typical for compensation to be offered so quickly in this way?
Well, I'm told that it can be. The Tata Group and the brothers are described as people who are, you know, very generous towards the community in India. They took over this airline in 2022 after, of course, it was mainly government owned for a long time, but it ran up billions of pounds in losses. They've been trying to turn things around and I think have in large part done that. But yes, it's raised some eyebrows, you know, people thinking perhaps it's a bit too soon. It's maybe a tad distasteful for many to think of money being offered. And actually, in terms of the money being offered, the equivalent of less than £90,000, is that even acceptable to anyone, no matter where you live, for the loss of a loved one in such a horrific way? It may be, you know, because we don't know the full details, it may be an interim offer to help families get through the months and years ahead while the long period to try to thrash out proper compensation is actually sorted. These things can take years, many years, to actually get compensation for the loved ones of victims of tragedies like this.
Mark White, thank you very much for bringing us up to speed on that. Absolutely devastating, ladies and gents. I say this often on this programme, don't I? You never know what tomorrow holds, or, you know, even the next half an hour to an hour. I mean, I've seen footage of people on social media posting, you know, had a great time in India, you know, goodbye India kind of thing, happy as anything, as anyone would really, from the airports. Now, so many people desperately trying to find out whether or not their loved ones have been impacted by this. Just so tragic. And the scenes of the survivor just walking away, because we've all seen the footage of this horrendous crash, very disturbing footage. So much smoke, so many flames. And then you just see this guy, Daniel. I mean, he's got a bit of a limp, but he's just kind of walking off. It is almost unbelievable.
Well, miracles happen, but the overall scene is very, very grim. This is a really serious catastrophe, and we need an explanation soon of what brought this about, because this is not normal. I mean, I say that, no, this really is, you know, this is a plane that's been in use for a long time. It's generally safe. It's never crashed before. And we need an explanation of what's gone on. And it's too early to say, but we need it quickly.
Absolutely. Aaron?
Yeah, Boeing have had a number of episodes like this over the last few years, and it's brought into question Boeing's capacity to continue to build safe aircraft. However, as Daniel said, it's the first instance of something like this happening with the 787. So whether or not it was human error or something more structural with the plane, I mean, that's a huge issue because, as I've said, Boeing have had these things happen a lot, particularly over the last 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to say that is a survivor there that we can see. Like I said, if you're listening on the radio, you can't see him, but he's, I mean, he's got a bit of blood on the back of his T-shirt. He's got a little bit of a limp. But other than that, just visually, externally, he seems kind of okay. I mean, it's absolutely incredible that you could emerge unscathed from that aeroplane. Somebody somewhere was certainly looking down on that gentleman. And I can tell you, seat 11A, which is where that chap was sitting, I imagine that's going to be in very, very high demand when it comes to future flights that people are taking. Nigel Farage, of course, he has also emerged from a plane crash, not, of course, of the same scale, but he's been speaking out today. Take a listen.
As somebody who's survived the plane crash myself, only just, when I see incidents like this crash, I shudder. And I say to myself that really, if you think about it, from the moment of conception to death, luck is the biggest factor in our lives. Doesn't matter how good we are, how bad we are, bad things can happen. So you know what? Live each day as if it were thy last.
Very, very good advice there from Nigel Farage. But look, our thoughts, of course, are with everybody that's been impacted by that horrendous, horrific crash. Coming up after the break, we've got a lot, ladies and gents, that we need to discuss. I want to talk to you about council tax. I thought it was not going to rise by a penny more. Turns out that's not true. I'll see you in 2.
This is our country, and we think it's amazing. From high tea to the high street, we love it all. Even the rain, we like that too. There's nowhere else we'd rather be. That's why we're here to be the fearless champion of Britain, its voices and its values. Because we are GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
You have a very nice accent, and I always thought but obviously I'm totally wrong. I've learned something already straight away.
I mean, we've interviewed together on countless occasions. I thought you would have picked up on my English accent.
Oh no, you're just changing it now. You're changing it a bit here.
Yeah, I'm just putting it on for you, mate.
Well, I'll tell you this, Chesney. I think it's amazing that we're talking about a tour next March for a man like you, and that shows you the extent to which you have to be organised to do these things. I thought like you're advertising this for this month or next month. Why the need to go so early?
Oh no, it's just to give people plenty of advance notice. You know, these days life comes up very fast, doesn't it? So I'm always touring, Eamon. I've actually got some headline shows coming up next week. I'm in Cardiff and and Southampton, but we've just announced this headline tour for next year. So I thought I'd get it out there and let people know in advance. You know.
And Chesney, just looking at your Instagram now, I mean, you've got a sense of humour, haven't you? Because you've been putting videos out there saying people think I'm a one-hit wonder, but let me tell you, there'll be a lot more songs than just the one that you're most famous for.
Yes. Contrary to popular belief, there are other songs. So looking forward, I've got a new album out right now, Ellie, and it's all been very, very well received. I'm so honoured and grateful for that. And so, yeah, I'll be performing some of this new album out on the road soon. You guys should come.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up? About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello everybody, welcome back. I'm Michelle Dewberry. This is Jubes and Co. Alongside me, I've got Lord Daniel Moylan and Aaron Bastani. Now, of course, we covered the Chancellor's spending review in depth, didn't we, yesterday? Lots of you had very strong opinions about it. There was lots of kind of buzz phrases and all the rest of it if you watched the statement. But now, of course, all the dust is starting to settle. People are starting to get into the weeds and the small print and looking at what does it actually mean. Well, I'm old enough to remember when the Labour Party used to tell us that you were not going to see council tax rise by a penny more. It turns out, actually, that's not going to be the case at all, because people are now suggesting, Lord Moylan, that actually council tax is just one example of something that's have to increase, and they're looking now at perhaps the maximum 5% over the next 3 years just to pay for things like the social care and the policing that's been put into this spending review. Your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I think council tax is almost certain to rise, but I think other taxes are going to have to rise as well. I mean, basically, she's gone on a spending spree because she's been rattled by the local election results and the unpopularity of the government. She thinks this might be a way of saving them. But none of the things she's doing, or very few of the things she's doing, are actually generating the economic growth that's going to pay for them. So at some stage, and it may not be this budget in the autumn, but in the next year or two, we're going to get the most almighty crash where she either has to cut spending dramatically or put up taxes again, and she's found no solution out of this cycle.
Aaron?
It's not looking good, is it?
It's not great.
It's not looking good. I think Lord Moylan is absolutely correct. A lot of what we saw yesterday was a direct response to the appalling local election results, which should not have been so politically damaging for Labour. Of course, we were looking primarily at Conservative authorities and councillors up for grabs in May. But it was so bad for Labour. They had to do something. I think she's gone regardless. But look, I'm on the left. I didn't vote for Labour at the last election, but I'm sympathetic to people that did. I didn't think they'd be this incompetent in the first year. I mean, we could genuinely be looking at some kind of major economic cataclysm in the next 6 months, the next year. I mean, it's quite extraordinary, actually. And their big bet politically was, we'll fund the NHS, and in 2029, we'll go back to the electorate, and that is going to bring us home a big chunk of votes. And I think that's true, but my, oh my, they've alienated so many other people in the process. It looks like quite a dodgy strategy right now.
One of the things that many people are getting very frustrated about, I speak to you every day and I do my best to read all of your messages. So many of you feel like that there is a lack of honesty and a lack of truth. We keep hearing this sentence all the time, don't we, that we're not going to put up taxes for working people. I heard Rachel Reeves today. She was directly asked about these potential council tax rises, and she just kept pushing back and basically saying, no. These, the rules about a maximum 5%, that wasn't us, that was the previous government. And that's fine and fascinating, but it's still a tax rise on your working people, isn't it? And another thing that I always remember, I'm on a rant now, ladies and gents. Do you remember when Keir Starmer used to talk about VAT on private schools? And if you don't remember, take a listen to what he said this money was going to be spent on.
I'm going to have 6,500 extra teachers in our state secondary schools, as we will. How am I going to pay for it? And so the tax break for private schools has to go, and that will be used directly to fund those places in our state secondary schools.
So VAT on private schools, stupid policy, born out of envy, if you ask me. But you just heard him, and it was repeated all the time that that policy was intended to be spent on teachers and things like that in the state system. Well, why then, as Keir Starmer tweeted this? I'll read it out for you if you're listening on the radio. In the budget last year, my government made the tough but fair decision to apply VAT to private schools. The Tories opposed it and Reform opposed it. Today, because of that choice, we have announced the largest investment in affordable housing in a generation. Well, I think that is pretty damn disgusting, really, Aaron Bastani. So you are now taking that money, you've disrupted these children's education and in many cases their broader lives. You've had such an impact on them. You made everyone believe that that money was going into the state school education system. And actually, you're now saying that that money is going to be spent on affordable housing, which, by the way, most of that, if not a significant chunk of it, will be going to people like these illegal asylum seekers, economic migrants, whatever you want to call them. I found it disgraceful and disingenuous and dishonest.
Well, the affordable housing, I mean, it's still not clear how much is social housing, how much is affordable housing, and by the way, that's often not very affordable. To be clear, the housing is being paid for by borrowing. Mm-hmm. And we know it's being paid for by borrowing because I think this is something they did, which is good. They changed the rules around borrowing, so actually you don't have to include borrowing for capital investment within the fiscal rules. So I think that's sensible because you're building assets which have a value. So we know that's simply not true. And by the way, I saw Keir Starmer, was it last week, speaking about the reversal on winter fuel allowance and saying, well, we made the hard decisions then, that's why we can now afford to do this today. You cannot be a functioning democracy with good policy going in the right direction if you have politicians lying to that extent. You can't. It's simply not possible if your Prime Minister bends and distorts the truth to that extent. So we saw it last week with winter fuel allowance. We've just seen it there with that post on X. That applies, by the way, to politicians of all stripes. There needs to be a certain baseline of clarity, pragmatism and honesty if you want the country to succeed, which we all do, by the way. We all want the country to succeed.
We certainly want the country to succeed, but we just want politicians as well. Stop lying. Stop lying. I mean, honestly, Daniel, I think to myself, do politicians think that your average Joe is just dense? Do you think that actually we can't remember what you said you was going to spend that VAT on? And do you think we can't read when you're now saying actually something totally different? It's just quite insulting to your average voter. Anyway, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, first of all, I agree entirely with what Aaron said. There has to be a basic level of trust. But you know what I think is one of the causes of all this? Is not that Keir Starmer is necessarily going out there and saying two things that are contradictory. Is that he's not saying anything at all. All this is being said by apparatchiks and kids who are working for him, saying, oh, I've got to get the tweet out today, what can I put in the tweet today, and so on. I've got to get this... And nobody's in touch with anybody else. Nobody remembers what was said last year. Get the tweet out. And then you only find out, because of journalists, people like you and so on, saying, well, look, this is what you said last time. And it's sheer incompetence in terms of managing their communication. So they end up as straightforward liars. So, yeah, I don't think Keir Starmer is particularly honest in the way he approaches things. He got elected as a left-wing leader of the Labour Party, and then he immediately became a right-winger and kicked all the left-wingers out. I don't think that's particularly honest. But I also think there's this going on, that, you know, you've got these kids, these apparatchiks who are writing this stuff for them, pumping it out. They haven't got a clue what they're doing. They should all be sacked.
Yeah, but you see, surely there's
and you don't... if you're going to say that doesn't excuse the Prime Minister, I agree with you, because he employs them.
I know, but I cannot imagine a scenario where some random is tweeting in my name on behalf of me
you should
things that I don't...
Get inside number 10. It's not just this one. It happens it's been happening for years.
Yes, but surely any grown-up, any sensible individual is not going to allow someone to tweet in their name something that is directly opposite to either what they think or what they've said, or surely there's some quality control that goes into this kind of thing.
And that's where the incompetence comes in. In previous governments, you'd have had better quality control, you had better people doing it and so on. This government, as Aaron said, it just seems totally unfit for the job it's been elected to do, and totally unprepared for it as well.
And anyway, we talk about housing, Aaron, and one of the other things that happened recently was now sleeping rough is going to be decriminalised.
Yeah.
Many people are now concerned that you're going to have all these tent cities popping up everywhere. What do you think?
Well, I'm not an expert in housing law and housing policy. I don't think that being criminalised is necessarily going to be a massive disincentive for somebody who's homeless to sleep or not sleep on the street. But look, the key problem is we have more people sleeping rough for a range of reasons. We don't have enough housing. Housing is unaffordable. Family breakup. What was really interesting for me, actually, I spoke to a guy who runs a charity where I'm from, Bournemouth, a Liverpudlian, an amazing man, and he was saying the number one reason for people he meets with addiction issues, he was formerly homeless himself, the number one reason is the breakup of a relationship. And that just spirals into something really bad, into substance abuse, drug addiction, homelessness, and then they can't get themselves back on their feet. And clearly, the way we operate as a society...
So we should give them a house?
No.
There isn't enough affordable housing.
No. Well, I think affordable housing is certainly part of the problem, not for somebody with substance abuse issues, homelessness, but for the hidden homeless, I think it's probably part of the solution. But what we've been doing over the last 15, 20 years, whether it's substance abuse, whether it's homelessness, what we've been doing hasn't worked. So clearly we need to change something quite drastically. I'm not seeing change being proposed.
Well, someone that is proposing some changes, Reform UK, they've got their ideas, haven't they, about Dirge, inspired, of course, by Elon Musk. Well, the Tories now put a complaint into the ICO. So let's look at that after the break. And also, you've had rioting, haven't we now, unfolding on the streets of Northern Ireland. The powers that be have been very quick to basically describe all these people that are rioting as racists and bigots. Is it really that simple? I say not. See you in 2.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Temperatures are on the rise this week, particularly across parts of Spain and Portugal. It's likely we'll see heatwave conditions over the coming days. And with the hot temperatures comes plenty of sunshine, particularly across Spain, Portugal, though we can't rule out a few showers across southern parts of France, northern parts of Italy on Saturday. But otherwise, it's plenty of hot sunshine, particularly across Italy, where we'll start to see temperatures move into the mid-30s. And that sunshine is set to continue into next week, along with the hot weather.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good evening. Welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. We've seen some heavy downpours today. They're easing somewhat overnight, but further thunderstorms are likely, particularly so this time tomorrow. Low pressure is sitting to the west, and that's drawing up warm and humid air. It's going to be quite a sticky night, quite a close night. We've seen some heavy downpours across Northern Ireland. They're starting to ease. Still some lively downpours for parts of North Wales, North West England at the moment, but they'll track northwards and ease off as they do. Still quite a wet night across parts of western Scotland. Many areas, though, further east, having a dry night, long clear spells, but look at the numbers. Holding up in the mid-teens. That brisk breeze will be easing in most places through the night. So it won't be as windy tomorrow. Much of eastern England having a fine and sunny start, along with much of northern Scotland as well. The overnight rain should be pulling away from the Western Isles. Still maybe 1 or 2 showers in western Scotland, and certainly there will be more showers again in Northern Ireland. They could get pretty lively, especially around the middle part of the day. The odd shower for Wales, but most of England and Wales will have a dry start to the morning and quite a warm start as well, and pretty sticky, steamy day across these eastern parts where temperatures come in the afternoon may get into the high 20s. Not as hot where we've got a bit more cloud elsewhere, but still generally dry and bright. It's quite humid. Some heavy downpours around the middle of the day for Northern Ireland, and look down to the south. Another batch of thunderstorms then starting to arrive late in the day, coming into the southwest. As I said, very warm across these eastern areas. Elsewhere, temperatures in the low 20s generally. But those high temperatures and the humidity likely to spark another round of thunderstorms coming up initially across the south during Friday evening, then spreading to Wales, and by the end of the night and into Saturday across parts of northern England. Met Office warnings are in place for heavy rain and thunderstorms. Do check out the Met Office website for full details of those warnings.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good evening, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. Drivers should exercise caution crossing the A9 Dornoch Bridge due to strong winds. The A483 is closed in both directions between Lanano and Llanbista, with local diversions in place. In Hertfordshire, a collision on the M25 clockwise at junction 24 has led to the closure of one of 4 lanes. A minor collision on the M42 southbound in Warwickshire between junction 10 and 9 causes one of 2 lanes to remain closed with 20-minute delays. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast and cross-country services face disruption between Stoke-on-Trent and Stockport. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Hello there, welcome back to Jubes and Co with me, Michelle Dewberry, Aaron Bastani and Lord Moylan. Christine says, Michelle, I don't want to pay another penny in tax to go to things like the NHS, etc., until the organisations have been put through an intensive dirge-style operation. Well, Christine, I hate to disappoint you, because you might be familiar with the fact that Reform UK are trying to do their own version of dirge. Well, it's hit a little bit of a stumbling block today, because Kevin Hollinrake, he's published this 4-page open letter. It's a formal complaint to the Information Commissioner's Office. He's basically raising questions and eyebrows about, are Reform UK able to request all of this data, demand this data from the councils? What are they going to be doing with this data? What about GDPR rules and all the rest of it? Well, sit down, ladies and gents, and get your popcorn out. You ready? Zia Youssef, we all know who he is, now in charge of Dirge UK. He's tweeted, wow. The failed Tory party fighting for its existence has written to the ICO to try and block Reform's dirge. They're now desperate to cover up the corruption and waste of their now deposed local government regimes. It will not work. Just as they've plundered hundreds of millions from the British taxpayers during COVID, they've done the same at councils. Reform councillors were voted in to expose it, and with the help of Reform's dirge team, they will do just that. Enter, basically, the Conservatives' press office. They've replied to Zia and said Reform's snowflake chairman, once removed, is whinging again because he can't cope with scrutiny. Zia Youssef, are you going to resign again? The public have a right to know whether you're harvesting their personal data for political gain. We're the only ones with a proper plan to cut wasteful council spending, they say. Lord Moylan, what do you make to all this?
I bring may I bring a touch of calm to...
Yes, you may. Okay? Go on.
Right, so there's certain information that councillors are allowed access to, for example, about contracts and things like that. But political parties aren't. Even if the councillor belongs to a political party, they're not meant to be giving it back to their party headquarters. So one of the problems here is that you're mixing up the Reform councillors who've been properly elected and Reform Doge, which is a party thing that has nothing to do with the councillors as such, and they're trying to get a load of information. But it's not just about contracts. The way it's been drafted, they could be asking councils to produce information of a personal nature about the council taxpayer, about social security payments they're getting, about things like that, which the councils are just not able and not going to provide to Reform. They wouldn't provide it to councillors either, let alone to a party organisation. So I think this could be interpreted as a helpful nudge from Kevin Hollinrake to say, you know, do it properly. If you want to get the information, do it properly. But they're not going to get away with what they're doing here. I think it's ridiculous to say that the councillors have been enriching themselves at the expense of councils. I just don't think there's any evidence for that at all. And if he's going to start accusing individual councillors of stealing money, he needs to be willing to test that in court.
I do find it a bit odd, though, that Conservatives at the bottom of their press response, they say we're the only ones with a proper plan to cut wasteful council spending. But hold on a minute, because the Tories had power in government for many, many years, and they've been in control of councils for many, many years.
Yeah,
so why would they even be wasteful council spending then?
Having been a Conservative councillor myself in the past for quite a long time, and if you look at the councils that have the lowest council taxes, which are they? Politically, they are the Conservative councils. Historically, if you want a low council tax, you vote Conservative because they're good on waste and efficiency.
Aaron?
So I'm going to say something that might sound strange. I agree with Zia Yusuf.
Ooh.
Comrade Yusuf. Look, this whole thing about how the councillors can get the data sets but the party can't, I think
not even most of these they couldn't get. They can get some information, for example, about contracts.
Of course they can. So payments made to care homes for the elderly, etc. That's the sort of data that a councillor can get but the party can't. The reality is, though, a councillor may be on £15,000 a year. They don't have the time and the money to assess the kinds of outgoings done across a massive local authority, like if it's a unitary authority. Huge budgets involved. I think as much of that data should be public as possible. They should be publicly available data sets for journalists, politicians, and informed citizens. I think that's a sensible way to do things. I think the fact that we've got, in local government, 25-year contracts for maintenance and cleaning, when, as Zia Yusuf himself said, the Apollo missions had 6-year contracts, I think that speaks for itself. So I do agree with him. I think they probably have gone a little bit too far in terms of the amount of data they want to extract. But I think there's a huge gap here between the Conservatives claiming to be the party of taxpayer value, scrutiny, transparency, accountability, and then they resort to a quango to block a party from attempting to do precisely this. They've also misspelt, may I just add, Aaron Banks' name. They've given it 2 A's rather than 1. I've got 2 A's. So again, I would reflect on their attention to detail if they're criticising one of the lead advisors to Reform's Doge programme and they can't even get his name right.
Well, there you go. What do you make to all of that? Is this legitimate criticism or is it a bunch of man-babies throwing their toys out of the pram and playing politics? What do you think to Doge UK anyway? Do you think it'll have the desired effect, save us all a fortune or not? Get in touch. Tell me your thoughts. Coming up, we all know the horrendous scenes we've seen unfold in Northern Ireland. Those riots, they're being just dismissed as racist bigots. Is that really the case? I don't think so. Do you?
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays, I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here.
I'm Michelle Dewberry. Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dewberry, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This Saturday, join GB News as we mark the King's official birthday. Trooping the Colour, hosted by Charlie Peters, Miriam Cates and me, Cameron Walker, live from Buckingham Palace from 10 a.m. this Saturday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, Michelle Dewberry with you till 7 o'clock. Lord Daniel Moylan and Aaron Bastani you are still with me. You've not gone anywhere, have you, in that short break?
No.
Look,
where do you expect me to go?
No, I don't. But it was just the way that I said it. I came back from the break and I announced that you're still here, as though it was some kind of surprising development.
Surprise,
But no, they are definitely still here all the way till 7 o'clock. Now, over the last few nights, many of you will have watched in horror at the scenes unfolding across Northern Ireland. We've seen so many different points of rioting now. Let's cross live to our GB News Northern Ireland reporter, Dougie Beattie. Dougie, I was watching you live on GB News last night. I've got to say, I think you did a sterling job updating us with the goings-on last night. What has been the latest developments there?
Well, Michelle, if you look here right in front of me, this is a leisure centre in Larne, which is about 30 miles away from Ballymena, and some of the families that were put out of Ballymena came here. Now, they were away by Wednesday morning. They were no longer here, but a mob gathered here last night, and this morning this was a total mess. It was the windows were all put in on it. They had threw petrol bombs, etc., inside it, trying to burn this property. And the police weren't here, and the fire service couldn't get in for quite a while in order to put the flames out. Now, that was how much this rioting has started to break off into different villages in and around Northern Ireland. And the reason for that is it's all over immigrants that are coming into Northern Ireland, and it's not really about the alleged sexual assault that happened earlier on in the week. It is more that this has come to a boiling point, and politicians in Northern Ireland are not listening, especially around the company Mears that has properties that they then rent out to immigrants, or they're paid for them to be in there to private landlords. They take contracts off those landlords, and 85% of Mears properties are in working class areas, which means that the people in those areas can't get housing themselves because the price of it has doubled, and then the rest of the people in the street also double their rent, and the prices of houses become extortionate in that area. So what you get is an indigenous population not able to get in, and of course those immigrants don't have the same cultural values or religious values as the people in Northern Ireland. In 25 years we have been a post-conflict country, and we have done quite well because we have learnt to live with each other, we've learnt to give ground, and we've learnt to understand each other's culture. Now you throw in people into the mix that are Romas, that are Syrians, that are Iraqis, etc., and some of them don't get on with each other. So now what you've done is thrown more sectarian violence into the mix, and it has caused real problems in Northern Ireland over the last couple of years, but particularly in the last year since the Rwanda deal was dropped, because what happened is most of these migrants came from the Republic of Ireland up into Northern Ireland, part of the UK, and from here they're able to travel onwards. So they get all the benefits of the UK living here in Northern Ireland, and politicians really need to wake up.
And tell us as well, there's been calls, hasn't there, for the Communities Minister, Gordon Lyons, to resign. What's that about?
Well, Gordon Lyons put out a tweet yesterday morning that said that this leisure centre was being used to house migrants. As a migrant centre, a pass-through centre, if you like, and that he is being accused of stoking the fires and saying confidential information. Really, the people I've spoke to in the street are disgusted at this, because they want their politicians to come together and really look at what's happened. There is rain tonight. That means there will be not as many crowds in the streets. The politicians would have had time to engage with those communities, engage with the police force, but instead of that, they went to the media, the BBC, we must say, who made a whole complete mess of this by putting this out. I knew about this on Tuesday afternoon in Ballymena, so the people that knew that it was here already knew. The council themselves had put out a tweet saying about it, and if the police service of Northern Ireland's intelligence is that low that they don't know what's happening on the ground, you need to ask how stretched is our police force at this minute. And the media of Northern Ireland should take a look at themselves. The Green Party, Alliance Party, SDLP and Sinn Féin, who are all pro-immigration, have chose this moment to have a go at a minister who could actually get into those communities for something that was already known in the public on Tuesday afternoon. So really, there is disgust here as opposed to calling for the minister's head.
Dougie Beattie, thank you as always for bringing us up to speed. Daniel Moylan, your thoughts?
Well, the first thing I'd say is that in circumstances like this, even if the people perpetrating these incidents are racist bigots, having the police sitting there and simply calling them racist bigots is adding nothing at all to the situation, because you're just saying, we are determined to ignore whatever it is that's concerning you. We're just going to resort to slogans, insult and abuse. I think, and I think Dewbs hinted at this, we look at this in a British context. We think of this compared to what's happened in England. It's also worth looking at, if you like, in an Irish context, I think, because similar riots and disturbances have been happening for similar reasons in Dublin and other parts of the Republic of Ireland. And the question how many refugees, asylum seekers are moving north into Northern Ireland and the pressure they're putting on society there, I think, is linked to what's happening in the Republic as well.
Aaron?
I mean, we've spoken about refugees and asylum seekers. I mean, this is a tweet from Amanda Ferguson. She's a Belfast-based journalist, from last night. I sat in a safe house with Filipino families who were told they are not the target, but don't believe it. They have left Ballymena. They are considering leaving the Northern Ireland. Their windows were smashed and they had to flee with passports and the clothes on their back. Frankly, I think that shames the country. If people who are here lawfully, contributing to society, paying their taxes, maybe have kids there, in this instance it's Filipino nationals, have had to flee their homes after they've been smashed up with nothing but their passports and their clothes, I think that's utterly extraordinary. I do agree with you that the police just calling people names doesn't really help. You know, the job of the police is to uphold the rule of law, right? It's to keep people safe. It's not to issue infinity press releases. I think they've done that precisely because they're struggling to keep people safe and uphold the rule of law. I mean, that's why this started, isn't it?
Yeah, I've got to say, I mean, there is no, you can't justify some of the stuff that's going on. There is no justification. It's absolutely appalling. You cannot go around setting fire to people's homes, terrifying them and all the rest of it. But it's absolutely undeniable that what the governments are doing, and it's not just current governments, it's previous governments as well, they are not listening to people. People are constantly voting against uncontrolled immigration. The political establishment are just running roughshod over that and just putting and pumping communities full to the brim of things like HMOs and all the rest of it, and it's bringing with it a security risk. It's destroying and devastating communities. That is not a justification for going out and setting fire to anything, quite frankly, but I think the political elite, they need to put more time and effort into understanding the frustrations and anger that people have right up and down this nation. I worry about the future of this country. I really, really do. Look, that's all we've got time for. Aaron Bastani, thank you for your time tonight. Lord Moylan, thank you for yours as well. It was a pleasure to have you back. As always, thank you for spending the last hour with me. I very much appreciate it. Don't go anywhere, though, because Nigel Farage is up next.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good evening. Welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. We've seen some heavy downpours today. They're easing somewhat overnight, but further thunderstorms are likely, particularly so this time tomorrow. Low pressure is sitting to the west, and that's drawing up warm and humid air. It's going to be quite a sticky night, quite a close night. We've seen some heavy downpours across Northern Ireland. They're starting to ease. Still some lively downpours for parts of North Wales, northwest England at the moment, but they'll track northwards and ease off as they do. Still quite a wet night across parts of western Scotland. Many areas, though, further east, having a dry night, long clear spells, but look at the numbers. Holding up in the mid-teens. That brisk breeze will be easing in most places through the night. So it won't be as windy tomorrow. Much of eastern England having a fine and sunny start, along with much of northern Scotland as well. The overnight rain should be pulling away from the Western Isles. Still maybe 1 or 2 showers in western Scotland, and certainly there will be more showers again in Northern Ireland. They could get pretty lively, especially around the middle part of the day. The odd shower for Wales, but most of England and Wales will have a dry start to the morning and quite a warm start as well, and pretty sticky, steamy day across these eastern parts where temperatures come in the afternoon may get into the high 20s. Not as hot where we've got a bit more cloud elsewhere, but still generally dry and bright, it's quite humid. Some heavy downpours around the middle of the day for Northern Ireland, and look down to the south. Another batch of thunderstorms then starting to arrive late in the day, coming into the southwest. As I said, very warm across these eastern areas. Elsewhere, temperatures in the low 20s generally. But those high temperatures and the humidity likely to spark another round of thunderstorms coming up initially across the south during Friday evening, then spreading to Wales, and by the end of the night and into Saturday across parts of northern England. Met Office warnings are in place for heavy rain and thunderstorms. Do check out the Met Office website for full details of those warnings.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good evening, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. Drivers should be cautious on the A9 Dornoch Bridge, where high winds create hazardous conditions. The A483 is closed between Lenano and Lanbister, with diversions in place. There is an incident on the M18 southbound at Junction 5, involving an over